following is a podcast from thefinalsprint.com, the internet's premier running, fitness, and nutrition publication. Start here, finish strong.
All right, join with the Hanson brothers here at the Boston Marathon. So you guys are real excited. You got a lot of female runners in this race and champs.
We do. We're real excited about, first of all, being in Boston. This is the Mecca. It all starts and revolves around here, and so Boston is a cool place to showcase the ladies, and the BAA has been just wonderful to us in everything. They really have. They've made our athletes feel like professionals, and that's always important for us. Is just that.
Well, they pretty much are professionals. I mean, it's a really talented women's on your team. In particular, who do you have running this weekend beyond Michelle?
Melissa.
Melissa. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, Melissa's our one runner, but
we also have Dot McMahon has had a great training segment, and that's kind of a fun one for us. She was an 800-meter runner in college, and got her Olympic trials qualifier at Chicago, and even commented at her Olympic trials qualifier that she ran that her half splits were almost identical half splits, and each of her half marathon was equal to her personal best half marathon before she came out to the program.
Oh, wow.
So she's made tremendous progress, and this training segment has been even better than that one. So we're excited to see her shoot for a sub 240 out here. She's certainly ready to do so. And then you add Desi from the group who's making her debut. When the other women were running their debut in Chicago, at the Los Alamos Chicago Marathon, she was running in Debrecen, Hungary, representing the United States at the World Road Championships. So certainly she's very capable as well of running a very solid marathon time.
Sure. No,
Yolanda Flamino is also running in. She's had some little bit of hiccups in her training, but she's another one that could be flirting with that 240 range. And then our last runner that's running, I shouldn't say our last runner, but I mean the other runner that's running is Kelly Stewart, and Kelly is trying to dip under the Olympic trial standard of 247, which is realistic for her based on her training, but we're hoping the Nor'easter holds off just a tad, because we don't have a huge margin of error.
Sure. Good luck to all of them. But although the weather may deter some of them from maybe beginning qualifying time, or from setting some PRs, you think it's kind of to their advantage in terms of just the USA Nationals? So just like about. Seems like you guys are used to it. You're up in Michigan. It's cold. It rains. You guys got this. People from other parts of the country, they're not necessarily so. They haven't necessarily trained in these type of conditions.
Exactly. Weather is weather, and you can't control it. So it's the same as anything else. As far as any runner goes, we always tell them to worry about the things that you can control. And if you can't control it, it's not something you worry about. Now, don't get me wrong. You may need to dress differently, and so it's not. You don't ignore it, but it is a factor, and it sometimes may change the race plan. But certainly, weather's not our enemy.
But certainly, from a competitive standpoint, I feel that they can improve on their positions in the American field based on the fact that it is inclement weather. I mean, if they don't make it a disadvantage for themselves as far as their mindset, inevitably some people do. Some people get stressed out by bad weather conditions and perform worse than they should. And if an athlete looks at weather as being something that may negatively affect somebody else, and recognize that somebody else is their competition, then poor weather can be a good thing.
Absolutely. What went into the decision to not have the men run? Obviously, it's a pretty wide open, men's field. Most of the big finishers from last year are at London, except for Peter Gilmore and, Brian Sell and Clint. They probably could have done pretty well here among the American men.
For us, it was more with the importance of the Olympics and the Olympic trials. Is the schedule was started with that circled and highlighted, and then gone backwards. And truthfully, we ran Chicago 2 years ago, and then last year we ran here and again at Chicago, meaning that would have been a segment where we had done two a year, and we wanted to have a slight break so that we knew that they weren't going into the trials in November in New York fatigued. And so the difference obviously with the women is that the women's trials aren't until back here again a year from now. So in which case we'll be answering that same question come fall with, why are your women not running a marathon now? So it's the same logic behind it, but it's that's our thought process. Maybe too much thinking, I don't know, but that's what we're hoping.
Right. Beyond the Easter run that Brian ran, what other races might they be doing, in the meantime between now and trials among your men?
Some of them will be running some track events, and others will be running some longer road races. We have a few that are running the 25K Road Championships at the Fifth Third Bank in Grand Rapids, and we'll have a few, like I say, on the track running some track events. So certainly some other road race events, and they'll run all the way through. They'll start their marathon build up mid-July. So some of them will run the 10K at the national championships at the Peachtree Run.
Okay.
We'd also like to support the Boilermaker Run, who has been good to us the last few years, and so for some people that will be the end of their segment before we start getting ready for the trials.
Right, and congratulations! I know that you just signed on with Brooks again. What kind of parallels between your own philosophies and Brooks do you think make it a good fit?
It's funny you say that. That's one thing that we were really excited about when we originally signed with Brooks in 2003, is that running was something that their corporation embraced, and obviously they're a running company, but they seem to everybody at every level ran. Jim Weber, the CEO at Brooks, runs, and it's kind of fun when we go out there as a retailer. We've worked with them before, and we've just felt that they were a company that had a philosophy that fit ours. They were a littler guy. And certainly there's some parallels there, and they wanted to invest in the sport of running from a group environment rather than from an individual environment, and that was important to us. And just recently, in addition to Brooks, we've formed a partnership with Saturn, which ironically is also had success from the same sort of humble roots, that they were not the large automobile company. They are part of General Motors, but they started in their founding was as a small individual run company, and again a very good match for us.
The neat thing about Saturn is anytime you add somebody that's out of the realm, and it's funny, I think that Runner's World magazine has taken a huge jump when it left being just shoe companies and goos and nutritional products. And if you go through their ads now, and you'll see automotive industries and things like that, because it's a different attitude and it's a different, and I think our sport sells to a greater audience than that. And if you look at all the people that are out here running on those streets, they're not all people that are just running geeks like we are. They're people that have other interests and so on and so forth. And so that's one thing that really helps us. First, right off the bat, our first relationship with Saturn, they said, well, how about if we bring in a team bus? And we said, oh, that'd be cool. Nobody's done that before. Yeah. And they set up this rock star bus with flat screens and everything else, and logoed up on the side. And it's like, holy cow, nobody's done that. Nobody's done that. And so I think the interesting thing about bringing in people outside of the running industry is the running industry tends to look at each other and tries to do it a little better than somebody else did it before. But the outside of the running industry, they have different sets of ideas, and they're adding new ideas, not just better ways of doing what you're already doing. And so that's what they've really done. And for us, it's made a difference. It's allowed to us, as I mentioned before, about making the athletes feel professional and things. We now have a guaranteed $100,000 a year contract for any athlete, male athlete, that's run under 2:11 or under 28 minutes for 10K. We have the same contract for any women that have run under 2:31 in the marathon or under 32 minutes for 10K. And that way people see, hopefully, not only does it help the current athletes, but our idea behind it is that hopefully it helps athletes that are the up-and-coming developing athletes know that there's money to be made in the sport. And if they feel like there's money to be made in the sport, they won't see it as something that, only thing I think our up-and-comers see is Prefontaine living in a trailer, living off of food stamps. And we'd like them to know that that's not elite running any longer.